All right, folks, here we go. We're talking about quadratic equations, and this time it's going to be one of the ways you can solve quadratic equations, and this is going to be by the square root property. Get ready. Okay, the square root property is if some expression u is an algebraic expression and the value d is a non-zero real number, then u squared equals d, or whatever the expression is, squared equals d, has exactly two solutions. All right, that's very confusing, but if we get some examples, we'll be able to understand it. This means that if u squared equals d, then u equals plus or minus the square root of d, which would be u equals the positive square root of d or the negative square root of d. And I don't care which way you write it, unless I'm asking you specifically which is positive and which is negative. And you're going to have some problems there where you're going to have to determine that. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Here's an example. Here's example number 2. 3x squared minus 15 equals 0. Now please remember, you can solve these in a number of different ways. I'm forcing you to use a square root property here. It's not the only way, but it's the way we're going to practice right now. So what I need to do is get that x squared all by himself, which means I'm going to have to add 15 to both sides. So I have 3x squared equals 15. And then I'm going to divide by 3, which means x squared equals 5. Or take the square root of both sides, x equals plus or minus the square root of 5. So that's our answer for that one. Just that simple. Okay, now, if you would use completing square or quadratic formula or whatever, you come up with the same answer. This is just one of the ways to do it, and we are going to practice doing it this way. So next we have 9x squared plus 25 equals 0. So we have to subtract 25 from both sides. So we get 9x squared equals negative 25. Uh-oh, now we're going to have to eventually take the square root of a negative number, so let's see what happens. So x squared is negative 25 over 9. So something should go off in your brain saying imaginary number. So if we take the square root of both sides, we're going to have x equals plus or minus the square root of 25 over 9 times negative 1. All I did was pull the negative 1 out to make it positive 25 over 9 times the square root of negative 1. And you know the square root of negative 1 is I. So this is going to be plus or minus. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 9 is 3. So plus or minus 5, 3i. All right, the next one is x plus 5 squared equals 11. Well, you already have your squared term by itself on the left-hand side, even though it's more than just a variable. It is an expression. X plus 5 is an expression, and that's what we call u. So if we take the square root of both sides, we have x plus 5 equals plus or minus square root of 11, which means x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 11. Or you can write it negative 5 plus square root of 11, negative 5 minus square root of 11. Either way, I prefer to do the plus or minus unless you are asked for a specific number, which is bigger, which is less, whatever. Okay, so go ahead and do your checkpoint number 2, and there's the baby. See you next time.